Hey fight fans, are you ready to elevate the fight night experience? Because with my partners at DraftKings, you can elevate your excitement to the next level by getting a little skin in the game. Right now, get a no sweat bet up to $1,500 with a $5 deposit from new customers. That's right, you will get a bonus bet back in the amount of your original bet if your first pick doesn't hit. Download the DraftKings app right now. When you sign up, use my promo code Sonnen. At DraftKings, the crown is yours. That's right. New customers that deposit just $5 get a no sweat bet up to $1,500. If that first bet doesn't hit, no sweat. You will get the original amount back in a bonus bet. Stay in on the action and check out DraftKings same game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same fight. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. New customers, use my promo code SONNEN and deposit just $5 to get a no sweat bet up to $1,500. That's promo code SONNEN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Islam Makhachev, this is a tough position. He really is in a tough spot. Do you guys think he's a star, by the way? Like, do you feel that? Because I have a feeling most of you are going to say no. He's really good. He's great. You know, he needs the right opponent. Needs just a little bit more time, a little more charisma, a few more interviews. I have a feeling you're going to say that. But I stumbled across one of his social medias. I can't remember if it was Instagram or if it was Twitter. He had 8.9 million followers. I could not believe this. I remember the time when Dana got to 1 million. And this was way back. This is like, 2009, and it was just started up. But I'm just sharing. Dana could send a text, hey, come see me at the such and such mall and I'll give 2 tickets. It would be like a joke how fast he would be absolutely swarmed. And that was at 1 million. So there's parts of the world. There's populations. Ariel had named Khabib, and I believe it to be true because Ariel said it, the most popular Muslim athlete in the world. And I share this with you because the idea that Islam isn't a star, I believe, could be a North American phenomenon. So let's deal with that, though. It's a North American company. You guys are largely a North American audience. Let's just look at it from your perspective. What would Islam need to do? And can he do it at 155? I do believe that Islam right now, like the talks of UFC 300, is going to be Islam versus Leon. Not to mention the double champ status, but just like the X's and O's of that match. We found out how great Leon was when he took on Colby. We found out how great his wrestling was. I just think that would have been a very compelling match. And I think I could probably suggest for you other very compelling matches at 170. The question is, can he do it at 155? And he finds himself in a tough position. Jon Jones had to be in this same position, which was so good and so dominant, he was having a hard time selling out arenas. People just knew how it was going to end. You back the tape up, Roy Jones Jr., the best boxer of the 90s, not according to Chael, according to boxers from the 90s, unanimously. You will not find any publication that lists the boxer of the 90s to be anybody other than Roy Jones. And he never had the mega fights. Even you boxing fans, you know who Roy Jones is, but if I was to ask you, tell me a title that he held, you're likely to say something clever like all of them. All right, well, tell me one guy that he fought. You might be able to come up with it. You might be able to look back and go, okay, I actually remember. Okay, give me a second. Okay, but now let me combine the two. Who did he fight and for what title? And you're going to be stuck. And that's not a knock on you or a knock on Roy. It was a reality that he was so good he never had that big fight. Never. He never had that $20 million payday. And people liked him and he was talented. He had Nike behind him. He could rap a little bit like Roy was an entertainer. And he was so damn good, it hindered his earnings. Not his reputation, not his accomplishments, not his ability to get title fights. Not the hardware that he was able to collect in the form of belts and medals and trophies. But it did affect the zeros and the commas because it was a story people felt they already knew the ending to. I'm old enough to remember a time when Mike Tyson was stopping everybody in the very first round. And there was a few things going on there, but they still had to solve the problem. Like, DirecTV still has to solve the problem, which is we have business and we need to sell this guy. And he's so good and the opponent is not compelling or believable enough. What are we going to do? And they came out and I remember it was a joint interview with the president of DirecTV and Don King. And they told the world, if Mike stops this next guy in the first round, we will refund half of your pay-per-view purchase. So all of a sudden, though, they've added an element, right? That's just good, solid marketing right there. That is very clever marketing to the fact that this was at least 30 years ago, and I remember it. What marketing do you remember from 30 years ago? Right? It had to be pretty damn good. And I say that because there's other ways to go with Islam. Like, there is a constant debate of Islam Khabib. And it gets headlines. It gets clicks. Islam gets asked about it, refuses. Khabib gets asked about it. They're very polite. Like, there's no interfering with that relationship. Javier Mendez has to speak about it. Daniel Cormier, Luke Rockhold, right? The guys that were in the gym all get asked about it. And I do think that there's a story there. And this might be a little bit clumsy, right? Like, I've got a hold of the right tool, possibly by the wrong end. But I think there is some comparisons to make with Khabib anytime you start to run into a common opponent, of which Dustin Poirier is. So now all of a sudden, it's not just a matter of beating him. Like, if that's the story and that's what's hurting, that's what everybody knows is going to happen. Well, now you not only got to do it, you got to do it inside 7.5 minutes. And I think that it adds to it. I think it was interesting when Mike, as opposed to stopping a guy early, had to stop him later, or else there was a punishment and a reward to you, the audience. Like, that just becomes interesting. Well, I'm telling you that I remember the DirecTV president and Don King standing there and going to the media over and over and over and bringing this pitch. I don't remember who Mike was fighting. I don't remember who the opponent was. Between Bruce Seldon and I know McNeely was the first one back out of prison. Like, I don't know who the opponent was, but I remember the pitch. And it adds a pressure. It's extremely unfair to Islam. Not the point. I'm asking you, how do you draw and how do you sell them? What other competitions are happening within the competition? If you're so sure that you know the outcome of a unified mixed martial arts rules match between Islam and Dustin, if you're so sure of that, let's add a competition. Let's add a layer to it. Islam is in a spot if he wants to make waves. I don't think that he does. He seems like the definition of a gentleman. But I've also never heard Islam ask for anything aside from new opponents. When he was going into the fight with Volkanovski the second time, like, oh my goodness. Hard fight for one, no denying, but I already gave him the opportunity. He's coming up from a weight class, man. I want that same opportunity. I like to go up a weight class. There's all sorts of guys for me to fight. Please give me some new guys. And when it was come back, no, you're going to fight this guy. No problem. Signed right away. Didn't bicker about it. And that's a significant difference, right? Asking for new blood once the offer's been made or the request is put in, it's significantly different than doing that in the media, trying to encourage it to go in a second direction. But when that phone rings, you say yes and you put it down, regardless of what name comes out of the promoter's mouth. It's very different. And that's what Islam did. But, and there is a but, which is, it appears the Rahman Sakarian. Now, in this industry, things change fast. But it appears the Rahman Sakarian will be the next opponent for Islam should Islam beat Dustin. And should Dustin get the jump on Islam, it still appears that Sakarian will be next. I would go a little bit further for you. I would imagine they have a backup fighter for this event. I don't know that it's Sakarian, but I'm very confident that Sakarian will be there. He will be in the front row. They're planning a cameo, perhaps an organic face-off. The point being, if it is Islam versus Sakarian, that would be the one qualification that Islam asked to not have to meet, which is a rematch. And I would not predict for you that he's going to be the skunk at the garden party that says, no, I'm going up, here's the belt, thank you, F you, bye. But it'd be very hard to not give a guy something when you're continually giving him the only thing that he said he doesn't want. And it would make waves, and that would be interesting. And that would be a headline-worthy threat. So, we'll see where that goes. But I suggest for you, before you think Islam is so great that it's not worth tuning in, it's not just Islam versus his opponent. There's other things being chased here. And that's where it becomes very relevant that he has an interest in going to 170 pounds and achieving champ status. That's one thing that Khabib didn't do. That's one thing that would separate them to a degree. It's one thing that would be looked at. It's one thing that is perhaps a motivation. And it hasn't been touched on. But there's a lot of competitions within this match. And you got to look a little bit. But if you do, you'll see them.